numbers grow stronger by the day. You no longer have to live in fear. The time has come for benders to experience fear.
So my first question for you, what got you into voice acting to start off?
Yeah, I was actually just a natural mimic. Ever since I was a little girl, I was a singer and a mimic, and was involved in anything showy, from musical theater to community theater, talent shows, anything and everything I could do. That was what I wanted to do: sing, dance, act, perform, entertain, all of that stuff. So I've kind of been practicing
Yeah.
what I'm doing now since I was a little girl. So I would practice my voices for fun. I would mimic my babysitters, my relatives, people with accents, anything that I thought would be a challenge. I actually, like I said, I did that because I found it to be challenging, and I thought it was helping with my acting. So when I got older, I pursued dramatic arts in college, but I started singing in a band at the age of 18 in college, and worked with them for about a year before getting an audition for an internationally known touring show band called Vince Vance and the Valiants.
Yeah.
And once I joined that show band at 19, I was on the road with them for about over 20 years. During that time, I met some other band members, and I started working on some original music with Brave Combo out of Denton, Texas. And I met the producer of the Dragon Ball Z director, and I didn't know this at the time, but I was at a session, and I met him, and he asked me to audition. And when I auditioned, I didn't know what I was auditioning for, but I chose to audition for the female characters. While there, they asked me to audition for a young boy, and I gave them what I thought sounded like a young boy, and they liked it, so they cast me as Gohan. And that's aside from some stuff I did, like I said, with Chuck E. Cheese and with Jemmy Industries, which is a company that puts out toys and records voices for those toys that go inside of them, like little, bunnies or animals, Christmas carols. So that was the beginning of my anime voice acting career, and that was in 1990, the very end of 1998.
For someone like me who wants to get into voice acting, what would you recommend I start off with?
I would definitely get as much experience as you can with acting and practicing your voices. I mean, you're on your way with doing these interviews and getting familiar with all of the software that's available to record on. And then you got to maybe consider going to some workshops. There's plenty of them available online or in person, where you can get mentored by people who are doing it in the industry, or directors that might be in the industry. And then you at some point would have to put together a demo of some kind, just to showcase your talent and your diversity, and then maybe possibly look at seeking representation, or possibly getting online to see if there's open auditions or casting calls, and just get as much practice in the industry as you can.
What in your life experience was most helpful in you becoming a voice actor?
My experience growing up in shows and musicals, and even down to the dance lessons, to performing and teaching dance. I taught some dance to some kids, and also mentored some kids when I was in college. So I learned a lot about the industry by being involved with other actors and intertwined in the industry with others who were working as full-time performers. I met people who were involved in improv, and I was just auditioning for whatever I could, but traveling with that show band at the same time. So a lot of times I would have to wait till I was off tour to come home and consider auditioning for projects. So all of the stuff I did, really, I mean, and I even took some workshops on serious acting even as late as in my 30s, to try to get some work doing being in commercials or being an extra in commercials and things like that. And it's just a matter of getting out there and hitting the pavement every morning and just being available.
Of all the roles that you played in your entire career as being a voice actor, what would you say is the one you got attached to the most?
Oh, wow. There's been so many. Well, I had a lot of fun with East Kai. She was over the top insane. But I also got really attached to Goku, being he's so innocent and funny and naive, he's a lot of the comic relief in that series, Dragon Ball, and so I had a lot of fun with him because it was fun to record his voice. It wasn't as hard on my throat as Gohan. And I was attached to Gohan just because I feel like I kind of mirrored his life in the sense that I was kind of bullied and I was really protective of my friends and my loved ones, and there was just a lot of deep character development with him and his character. And I had just lost my mother to cancer when I got cast as Gohan, about I think 7 months after doing the voice, and I was able to share those moments with her when it came on Cartoon Network. And so the scene, whenever it comes to the Cell Saga, I really felt like I had a lot of natural experience, life experience to draw from to really put the beef behind the character of Gohan in the Cell Saga.
So
Because
it
I
was
lost my mom and he'd lost his father, Goku. So I feel like I had a lot of life experience to add to that.
okay. So it was more of a personal experience, like a personal growth with like the character of Gohan.
Right. And it was really intense. And I was able to, draw from that life experience to be able to really channel that into the character, into the dialogue.
Okay. Has there been times where you had to record from home, like while doing those sessions of Dragon Ball?
No, back let's say back in the day, we all were going to the studio in person,
Okay.
making the drive or the commute, depending on where you lived in the DFW, Texas Metroplex. This went, just kind of determined, um, when and where you could come in, based on when you were scheduled and how many hours you were needed at one time based on your line count. So it was just kind of all different. Um, I could be in once or twice a week and then go 3, 4, 5 months and not be needed because my characters might not have any lines, or we might have
Okay.
covered so much material that I wouldn't need to come back for a while.
Even though I know you are one of the OG voice actors, would you identify any voice actors in the industry as role models?
My role models are more singers, like voice actors that are singers as well.
Okay.
Because I have such a passion for music and singing.
Mhm.
So my role models are more like the ones that might be in LA or New York that have contributed their voices to Disney, productions and Disney movies, like Jodie Benson from Little Mermaid. And of course Mel Blanc, who's amazing because he can do a million, well, he's passed away now, but he could do just so many different voices, and somebody that is really that good at changing their voice to be able to be all these characters and have completely different nuances in their voice. I find that to be fascinating, and I'm still working on it on a daily basis. I try to figure out how I can be better, or how if I can come up with some new character voices through my auditions.
Yeah. What do you think can make a role challenging in terms of like voicing a character?
Yeah, for me, in my experience, it's been either like intense accents, maybe like if it might be from a region or a territory that I've never been personally, or that I've never
Mhm.
done before. And then anything that involves a very low grovelly voice, like because it's in screaming and yelling and fighting, and those things can be very strenuous on the vocal cords and
Yeah.
the throat. I'm always up for a challenge, though. If someone thinks that I can fill a role, I definitely want to give it a shot. But if I really feel like I'm not doing a good job, or that's not really appropriate, or I don't think I can do a particular voice well, then I just pass on it and choose another one when it
What
comes.
style of voice acting do you think fits you the most?
Character voices. Um, even more detailed would be like comedic comedic characters that are funny
Okay.
and over the top melodramatic. Like the East God. Oh, I mean, it's just fun to really explore the silliness and
Yeah.
the kind of playful voices I can come up with on my own. So I think I'm just naturally better at those because I'm just a goofy, playful person. So whenever I hear a crazy voice like on King of the Hill or Beavis and Butthead or one of those shows on Robot Chicken, I try to see if I can mimic those, and I try to come up with my own. So but I'm just naturally better at the character voices.
When performing, do you prefer to have others in the recording studio with you, or would you rather work alone?
I'm good with whatever. I'm good with, I mean, most of my work for Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT was done individually, one at a time. So I would do my voices and they would literally like fast forward or move to the next line. I would just go from line to line to line. And then the only other people in the room would be the director and then the ADR director that handles the technical side of things. So I'm fine with that. But when I worked on OKKO in LA, I was able to actually record alongside with the entire cast, and
Oh,
we would
really?
be recording the material before the animators created the visual. So that was my my first real substantial non-anime role, and so they did it differently there at Cartoon Network, and that was really fun because you got to kind of play off of each other.
Mhm.
The characters hadn't been drawn. I mean, they've been drawn as far as like sketches, but they
Mhm.
weren't filled in or in full color or ready to go to production yet. So I mean, I'm good with any which way. If it's a character and it's a job, I'm grateful for it.
What challenges have you faced in your voice acting career, and would you say you have overcame them?
Yeah, it'd probably be um not being so like nervous or shy or about being vulnerable, on really digging deep on some of these auditions and some to really challenge myself to see if I can broaden my own horizons as far as what I can produce as character voices go. And then just navigating the amount of rejection in the industry as a whole. There's a lot of things that go into the selection of a character and who's going to play that character. So it's just
Mhm.
a matter of not allowing a lot of no's knock me down or encourage me to leave the business or like give up on myself or anything like that. So I think that that's probably the most challenging, is just like the politics of the industry and like how you could be replaced at any time and you might not even be given a reason, things like that. Like it's just a matter of picking myself up, dusting myself up off and starting again and just remaining resilient.
How do you maintain the health and the quality of your voice, especially during like demanding projects?
Basic self-care for one, getting sleep and drinking a lot of water, and then just try to maintaining my health in general, like trying to exercise, eat properly, just basic self-care, along with just really taking care of my throat and my voice, and maintaining allergy maintenance. I have a really bad allergies kind of off and on all year, but I guess they could be considered seasonal allergies. So it's just a matter of maintaining, if there's medications or any kind of sinus stuff, just really being on top of that, because when I get sick, it can get really bad and then cause my voice to change and possibly get laryngitis or bronchitis. And then, I could be out of the game for a few days or a week or so. And that happens. And most directors are understanding, but it's just a matter of that basic maintenance of like, being self-disciplined every day.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
voice acting roles have given you the most professional satisfaction?
I think the ones that maybe were challenging, but then I was able to kind of pull through, and the director was happy with what I did. So I'd have to say probably um Cell Saga Gohan, because for me personally, I think that voice was very different. It was almost like a completely different character than
Hmm.
Gohan, a young Gohan, because the voice changed so dramatically.
Yeah.
So I think that becoming like such a powerful, intense, being able to become this voice of this really a man. I mean, I was really, it was really the most deep, grovelly, manly voice I could come up with, and I think constantly just bashing that voice, and was I mean, I was honored to get the opportunity, but honestly, I didn't even know it was coming. I just showed up for work one day, and all of a sudden, we were working on the Cell Saga, and my direction was given, and so I think that one is definitely the most strenuous and the most fulfilling, because I was able to successfully pull it off. And a lot of fans really like that saga. It's one of the bigger arcs. And so for that, I'm grateful to be a part of that. I was able to like maybe voice Gohan for a little bit, and
Hmm.
then maybe move over to another studio where they needed some background voices. And I would do, women screaming, babies crying, villagers. I know I was a German English teacher. I was some I had
Yeah,
some
you
lines
were.
with some of the villagers. Is like, one of the voices was kind of like this, and I just channeled my Aunt Manya from up in Rhode Island. Like a German English teacher, she was like, please open the textbooks to the page 24. And then what's funny is one day, I didn't even know this was going to happen. I tried out for East Kai. I had some time left in the booth, and the director had already chosen somebody, but said, hey, what do you think she would sound like? Throw us a voice on this one. I was like, oh, well, obviously she'd sound kind of like this. And, they loved it. I loved that role. So like, there you go. There's like 4 or 5 voices in like an hour and a half or maybe a 2-hour voice session.
What beyond talent do you feel one needs to book work as a voice actor?
Oh yeah, having the talent, yeah, definitely. I think it's also good to just constantly be on the lookout for opportunities, and whether it's defining what you're best at, your niche, and then
Mhm.
seeking direction or workshops or some kind of platform, maybe online, where you can exercise your voice and really work on your potential and just really kind of hone in on what you think you might need to do better. And then as
Mhm.
far as like industry stuff, just getting out to various mixers or getting with other students or other people in your general vicinity or even online, and just talk with them before and after, say, a workshop, and get to know what they're doing to make strides in their own search
Mhm.
for auditions, and then just trying to get back and forth with each other and say, hey, I got this audition, or I met this certain person, and then you just kind of go from there.
This is a personal question for me. How was it when you were getting ready to like leave that role as Gohan and like passing it over to like Cal Herbert?
Oh yeah, no, it was just like, okay, you're done. That's all, that's the end of that saga, that's the end of that arc, that's the end of that episode. And then,
Mhm.
it just may be that you're just not called in
Mhm.
to work on anything. Thankfully I had Goku with Dragon Ball GT to fill up a little bit of time there. But then it was just on to the possibilities of auditioning again, and maybe on a different show, or maybe on a completely different anime.
Do you think range and versatility matters when it comes to voice acting, or like do you feel like some people could be good at like one thing and succeed? Like how do you feel on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard all kinds of different voices. I know people that do it full time. They don't even need to leave the house. They just jump on to various websites. They answer their emails. They've set up a website of their own, and they have their own home studio that some of them I know even have their own studio that they rent out to other people, and they can actually be the engineer. Like they've learned more and more about the business, in the sense that they're not just a voice. They also know how to edit, record, edit, and add music. I know people that do radio spots all day long. So I
Mhm.
know they do audiobooks, they do narrations for anything from children's books to novels to scripts for like YouTube channels. There's people that that offer their voice uh to various podcasts, maybe an opening and a closing. My partner in my own line of work is not only a voice actor, but he can edit all of mine and his
Oh wow.
radio spots, and also add music and make them sound like $1,000,000. And he works for a radio station. So, there's a wide variety of outlets where people can be almost like a one-man show. If you learn the trade, and you can do it well, then you'll end up being more successful, because if a project pays a certain amount, you can get all of the money straight to you, rather than being other, like, oh, I can record it, but I can't really edit it. And you got to outsource somebody to edit it, and you got to pay them
Okay.
to edit. So it's like the more you learn about the trade, and the more you can do on your own, especially with COVID hitting, a lot of people had to learn how to do a lot of this technical stuff that
Yeah.
they didn't have to do before, because we were always going in person. So now that COVID's hit, it's given us all a chance, just like this, we're doing interviews on Zoom. There's all kinds of outlets for people who want to pursue voice acting to be able to make their ends meet.
I only got like a couple more questions for you. Um,
Okay.
describe your process for preparing for a voice acting role.
Okay. Well, it would depend. First of all, say like it's if I actually get an email from some company saying, hey, we're having auditions for maybe this next season of anime or this next season of shows. I would basically have a look at the instructions and follow them to a T and try to do a quick turnaround. So like they may give you a deadline of like maybe 5 days later or a week later. I would try to go ahead and get on top of those as soon as possible. In the event that they listen to them one at a time and then they hear what they like and then they might stop listening. If they hear what they like, they might just say, hey, that's the voice, that's the one I want, or they might keep you in the running. It's just really, it's all behind the scenes. You don't really know. So I just make sure that I submit, whether I just do the best I can. And then I just read the descriptions. And if they allow one take, I'll do one take. If they allow two, I go ahead and give them two, and I'll give them like a higher rendition and maybe a lower spot in my
Okay.
voice that they're different. But I just try to really pay attention to the description of the character. As far as like the age, the female or male, child, elderly,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And then really, if I can get a picture, that even helps even more because I can sometimes come up with my own unique voice if I can see a picture of the character. And then
Okay.
I just do the best I can and make it sound clean and nice and um high quality and submit and then hope that they hear something they like.
Do you have any experiences performing in front of a live audience?
Yeah, I've been performing in front of live audiences since I joined that touring show band in 1991. And before that, I was involved in community theater and musicals. And so I've actually been on stage in front of an audience way more than I've ever done any voice acting. If you go to my website, stephanienadolny.com, I've been involved in with Vince Vance and the Valiants. There's probably been about 8 different show bands I've been affiliated with here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for weddings, parties, clubs, festivals, and then I fronted the band called a show band called the High Rollers at the WinStar Casino from 2010 to 2014, where we were there and performed for the senior breakfast
Okay.
twice a week in the morning. And so I fronted a band and been involved in show bands in front of audiences for well over 30 years.
For a character like Gohan, like during the Cell Saga, how was it having to approach the scenes of him like being angry?
Yeah,
Like,
I would have to just follow direction, read the script, the dialogue, try to get a good idea of what's going on before jumping in. And then when it's time to go, we get the 3 imaginary beeps, 1, 2, 3, and then boom, you go. It's action. So basically I would just draw from the fact that I knew about Gohan and his life as a child and growing up and the dynamics and the relationships between him and his family and and the other characters and his friends and how things kind of built up to the Cell Saga. There was a lot of history behind, that fueled Gohan's
yeah.
anger and fueled his rage that he had been holding back pretty much his whole life. Granted, he's only 11 and he looks like a teen or a man or whatever. But I knew that going into that arc was, and I had the background and I had the director right there, kind of telling me what this, high stakes, low stakes. Okay, you're going to get intense here. This is going to be mouth not shown. This is what you hear in your head. I just follow the direction and go for it. And then if it doesn't work out, we give it another shot. And then that's kind of how we go from line to line. So, and then I had, the experience of losing my mother, and which is the absolute worst thing that I could ever imagine happening. 7 months into being cast as Gohan. So I had a life experience of a lot of pain and anger and suffering and grief and loss. So I was able to channel a lot of that in my own life and then just bring it out through the voiceover, bring it out through the dialogue and let it fuel the fire of when he's angry. Think about something that made me angry.
Yeah.
A colleague in the industry said she'd been going through a divorce when she was voicing one of her villain characters. And so she's like, well, I'm just going to take out all that anger and the pain and suffering of what I'd been through in my real life and through personal experience, and then bring it to the session and then just just rock it out, scream it out, do whatever you got to do to add to the quality of the acting.
Final question. Could you please give us a voice line from Kid Goku and a voice line from Teen Gohan?
Okay, there's so many to choose from. Let me think. Because I get a lot of people asking me in person or to quote, put the quotes on the Funko Pop toys at the signings,
Mm-hmm.
I think Goku will just do let's see. I'm Goku. I'm gonna be in the World Martial Arts Tournament. Yeah. And then Gohan will do I'll do young Gohan and then maybe the older Gohan. So
Okay.
don't hurt my dad. Don't do it. And then maybe the teen, almost teen Cell Saga. What are you so afraid of, Cell? Isn't this what you wanted? You forced me to awaken my hidden power. Ah!
I love it. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. But it was an honor of having you on stream. Thank you so much for coming through.
My pleasure. I love you guys. I love my fans, and I appreciate all the feedback and the positive support through all of these many, many years.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah. So
Thank
hopefully I'll
you.
see some of you guys at a Comic-Con pop culture event or a comic book store signing somewhere near you.